Hey folks, welcome back to the show. I'm really happy to introduce a friend and colleague, Tom Nicoli. So I thought that we could talk about, you talk about the myths and misconceptions, and when someone comes into the office for the first time not knowing anything, as most clients don't know anything about hypnosis, I thought it might be worth discussing for a few moments anyway how really easy it is, for the most part, for people to come in, learn a technique, and find some progress.
You know, there's a real irony to that. You and I both know there is no learning how to be hypnotized. The peculiar part is that it takes a while, I guess, for new practitioners, but once you do it enough times, it only takes you a few minutes to reframe people as to what hypnosis really is. And it amazes people when I say something like, well, when you were in Macy's or Walmart or Target or wherever you were, and you thought, wow, I wonder what that would look like on my wall in my dining room. And so you got startled, you were in a light trance.
Right.
Natural state. So that's, you know, a good friend of ours, Ron Esslinger, down in Tennessee, retired Navy captain, and he used hypnosis in 7 Navy facilities in pain management.
Right.
He says when he's asked, what's hypnosis? He says, it's a word. And I explained to people how in 1843 the word actually came up in a book by Dr. James Braid, Neurohypnology, the Rationale of Nervous Sleep. And because it looked like people in deeper states of hypnosis were asleep, and hypnos being the god of sleep, thus hypnotist, hypnotism, and hypnosis. But it's this natural state, and as you and I know, we commonly will tell people if you are daydreaming, you're in the hypnotic state.
I refer to it as daydream on demand.
Yeah,
Daydreams happen accidentally.
With intention.
This is with intention.
That's right.
Or goal-oriented meditation.
I read something recently, and I forget which book it was in, and it was describing the difference between meditation and hypnosis, the self-hypnosis. And it said meditation is listening to spirit, hypnosis is speaking to spirit. And spirit is your energy, your subconscious mind, your inner self. And it makes sense. You know, I tell people when you meditate, basically you go in here and you shut up and listen. But with hypnosis, you go in here, you get to that same state, which is just drifting out of consciousness into a more daydreaming.
The stillness, right?
Yep, that calm stillness. And it isn't about so much how relaxed you get, but just as long as that mind chatter isn't going on, and you're not thinking, oh, am I getting the kids at 4:30? And when you get into that place, when you do what athletes do commonly and all other types of people, using that guided imagery, using the imagery to guide your mind as to what you expect and want and desire and need, well, then it becomes self-hypnosis.
Right.
So, you know, that's the basics, of course, because there's much more to the work we do other than just guiding people through this imagery and future pacing, as it were, to create and develop within themselves what it is that they expect and desire their behaviors to be. What I have found in the work I've been doing, the bulk of it recently, or not so much recently, that's a year or two, is that what I found is the block that's within most people is the energy that is negative, and it's their feelings. And I tell them it's kind of like the fog, you know? You're not going under it, and you're not going over it, and you're not getting to the clearing until you go through it. But it can be scary, you could slow down and, oh, I don't want to go there.
Right.
But you have to go through it, you know? And this is when hypnosis doesn't have to be that real deep, deep, deep stuff, like in order to do negative and positive hallucinations and analgesia or anesthesia, natural anesthesia or analgesia.
Right.
But it can be very, very quick of just directing somebody into the feeling, because once that's happening, and think about this, everybody watching and listening, think about it in a natural state, and say we're just having coffee. And I start telling you about a time that upset me. Most people avoid that, but it's getting through it and getting to the other side. And as I'm talking about it, I'm not aware of what's around me. I'm not aware of who's listening. I'm just caught up in the emotion of it all.
Right.
I'm in
You're
my
back
own
there.
trance.
Right.
So I am in a hypnotic state with my eyes open.
Right.
See, there's so many of these misconceptions, yeah? So as we get people to focus on that feeling, and then they get into the feeling, they're already internal now. And the session is already begun.
Right.
So it isn't as most people think of the conventional approach. And even in our field, unfortunately, there are so many people who as professionals, they're using just this one approach of let me get you deeply relaxed, and then let me just guide you into that state and that place of imagining what it is that you're going to create.
Right. There's a lot of therapeutic work that can be done just within conversational, what they call conversational hypnosis,
Absolutely.
where there's not a formal deep trance at all. Are you doing much conversational hypnosis in your work, or?
We all do, whether we know it or not.
Yeah.
Whether it's intentional or not. And just so we can clear this up for some people who don't know, hypnosis is simply bypassing the analytical conscious filter of our mind in order to work with the subconscious, deliver suggestions to it, direct it, retrieve information from it.
The home of all of the habits, patterns, values, and
Absolutely.
beliefs. Right.
So getting into a state where we stop thinking and we pretty much listen and allow, and we're still aware. You know, it's like I explain to people, one of those myths is they don't want to be out like a light or be stuck in hypnosis. Well, even in the depths of what we would term the hypnotic state is when we dream at night, before we're unconscious. You know, there's consciousness, beta, alpha, theta, delta brainwaves, consciousness, daydreaming, dreaming when you sleep, and then unconsciousness. If you're consciously thinking and active, unconscious, you're not in a hypnotic state, right? So it's happened to me even this morning. You're in the dream, and you're even aware. It's like you're over here consciously, and your subconscious is going crazy with the dream and the imagery, and I'm thinking, this is weird. This is strange. What am I dreaming this for? So you're still involved, you know? Right. People they don't lose their ability to be selective.
Of course not. And that's one of the biggest myths, right?
Oh, mind control.
Giving up free will.
We can't direct somebody the way that they're robotic or zombie-like. You know, they're going to still be selective. So if it was something that was going to harm an individual, they just wouldn't do it. Right. And I explain to people, if that was true, if it was true that we could pretty much direct anyone to do what we want them to do, there'd be some really ruthless and unscrupulous people out there learning hypnosis, learning hypnotism, and they'd have all your bank account numbers.
Right.
But it doesn't happen.
Yeah. More the problem is that you won't connect therapeutically with the person. Someone will reject how the colors you mention,
right,
the speed with which you're speaking.
That's right.
I mean, there's so many ways a session can be unproductive for them to reject the flow of the content.
Well, like what you just said would be not creating rapport.